Today we'll be going over our best tips when packing for your Walt Disney World trip, how to pick your park bag, and what you should consider bringing with you into the parks. Hello and welcome to the Let's Go to Disney podcast. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Lucy.
Today is Sunday, April 28th, and you're listening to episode 33, Walt Disney World Packing Tips and Park Bags. Before we get into today's main topic, here's what's going on in the parks right now. This week, Disney Parks blog announced dates for the 2024 Food and Wine Festival. It's set to begin on August 29th through November 23rd. Of note, this is a much later start than recent years. For example, in 2023, it ran July 27th through November 18th. Disney shared a peek at the food items both new and returning for this year's festival. They hinted that you'll be able to enjoy waffles with berry compote and whipped cream or chocolate ganache at the Belgium marketplace. They also shared a look at an apple strudel, which will be at the Germany booth. And they hinted at a dark chocolate fondue, pound cake, and meringues at the Alps booth. And looks like the passion fruit cheesecake is returning to the Hawaii booth. This is consistently one of our favorites every year. Emil's Fromage Montage is also returning this year. Like the other food strolls throughout the year, you pick up a festival passport at any booth and buy 5 cheese-themed dishes listed in the passport. Make sure to get your stamp for the 5 dishes, and for your 6th stamp, you'll get a yummy treat to celebrate your hard work. Eat to the Beat concert series is also returning to the America Gardens Theater, and dining plans will be available. And the best part in our opinion, as previously announced, Communicore Hall is opening on June 10th, and it'll feature Food and Wine Festival elements when the festival kicks off. We can't wait for that, and as always, there'll be plenty of new merch. There's a Remy timer that looks really cute, and a salt and pepper shaker shaped like garbage cans themed to food and wine. They're much cuter than they sound. We'll keep our eyes peeled for the foodie guide that will be released closer to the festival's start date. Disney has changed the payment process for Savi's Workshop and Droid Depot at Galaxy's Edge and Hollywood Studios. Previously, you could book these experiences 60 days in advance and be charged when you went to the experience on the day of in the park. Now you'll have to prepay for these experiences when you make your reservation. This applies only to the base fee, and you won't be eligible for annual pass holder or DVC discounts. If you choose add-ons during the experience, this will be an extra charge, but they will qualify for those discounts. Also in Hollywood Studios news, a special 35th anniversary merchandise line is launching on May 1st. It'll utilize a virtual queue and will include special and limited edition items like apparel, pins, and other specialty themed items. These look really nice, and we may be too late when we get there on May 4th, but I'd love to snag that baseball cap. Pixar Fest kicked off in Disneyland Resort on Friday, April 26th. This will run through August 4th. During the fest, there'll be the Better Together, a Pixar Pals celebration parade at California Adventure, Together Forever, a Pixar nighttime spectacular at Disneyland, and there'll be tons of themed decor, characters, meet and greets, special Pixar themed treats, and merchandise. It all looks fun and vibrant, and will be a great time to visit Disneyland Resort over in California. With that said, in today's episode, we'll be covering our best tips for packing for your trip to Walt Disney World. We'll also talk about how to choose your park bag and what should go in it to take with you into the parks. This is actually really topical for us because we're 6 days out from our departure date here, and we just brought
the suitcases.
Yeah,
up.
Exactly. The suitcases just came up today, so we are in the beginning stages of planning for our trip here. I know some people like to start much sooner. Some people like to wait, until a couple days before. We're usually about a week out is when we usually bring them out.
Yeah, especially this time of year where we live, it's still not quite shorts and t-shirts weather, so it's really easy to pack right now because we can throw all those things in there because we don't need them this week.
Yeah, absolutely. All our shorts, all our t-shirts are not being used essentially, so we'll be able to just roll them up and put them in.
Absolutely. So we can get a lot of pre-packing done early. It's nice.
Yep, absolutely. So when packing for Walt Disney World, as a general principle, people tend to overpack versus underpack. So essentially, they're bringing with them much more than what they'll actually need during the length of their trip. So to be fair, we did this our first couple of trips as well. We brought way too much stuff. I probably didn't use half of the stuff we brought. But over the years and after having traveled to other places as well, we've really been able to estimate pretty accurately what we'll need during the trip. There's a fine line here as well. You certainly don't want to underpack or forget anything. So that's where lists come in handy. A good point of reference is 2 days worth of extra packing, meaning packing to accommodate if you were stuck somewhere for an additional 2 days. Okay, so this is especially true if you're flying and have one or more connections to get to Orlando. Flights can and do get canceled, so if you end up having to overnight on your way to or back from your trip, you want to have a bit of extra to get you by without potentially having to purchase anything. Another good use case for packing a little bit extra, not a lot, that's key here, but a little extra is if you have a major problem and had to use an extra outfit that you weren't planning on using. So for example, if you have a child that has an accident, or if you spilled a sticky drink on yourself, like soda, coffee, or juice, for example.
It happens to the best of us.
Yep, 100%.
Also, the time of year that you're traveling is also going to have a huge impact on what you bring. Orlando can actually be quite cold during the winter months, so around the November, February range. For example, just a few months ago when we were there the last week of November into the first few days of December, and we had a few days where it was actually 40 degrees. That's hovering around 5 degrees Celsius for those who measure in Celsius.
Yep.
We were wearing layers with jackets and pants, and it was just plain cold, like bone-chilling cold.
Yeah, 100%. Like I distinctly remember we were around the World Showcase.
We couldn't believe how cold it was.
We had just picked up a tostada from, it was during, was it Food and Wine? No, it was Festival of the Holidays, sorry.
Yeah.
And it was a giant tostada from the Mexican booth. And my God, like I remember like we were
at
those standing tables. Yeah, the wind was like gripping and they're like freezing, shaking, eating this tostada. But anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. And whereas when we are leaving in 6 days from now and we can look at the 14-day forecast, it's actually looking like it's between 87 and 98 degrees, or in Celsius, 33 to 36 degrees during our upcoming trip. So long story short, time of year is really going to matter when it comes to clothing that you are packing for your trip.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So
like we're not going to bring anything long this trip. No long pants and no long shirts.
Literally the only long pants and like jackets we're going to need is to like leave the house and to come home. Because
our travel days.
Yeah, because it's still chilly here. But yeah, it's shorts and t-shirts because my God, is it going to be hot? And like we know that, right?
We're prepared.
Yeah, exactly. So on that note, clothing. So if you're there when it's consistently hot and humid, the vast majority of what you'll likely pack is shorts and t-shirts. Now, obviously, this is very subjective. Wear what you're most comfortable wearing, but it gets really hot there and really humid. We're talking... You're walking into the parks, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and you're already sweating.
Just from a light walk, too. Like, you're not even moving that fast, and you're just standing sweating.
Yeah, 100%. So we suggest light, comfortable clothing, and quick dry materials are a bonus. So for women, you can probably speak to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for myself and for other women that I've talked to, a big fan favorite is shorts, bike shorts, skirts, or sundresses. And for men...
Yeah, more like I always bring just shorts, right? Quick dry shorts, like golf shorts kind of thing.
Quick dry shorts,
and t-shirts, just like cotton, or you can have dry like wig materials as well that'll dry fast. Yeah.
Oliver has a Disney t-shirt for every day we're there, so that's what he
pretty
wears.
Pretty much, yeah. And your kids should be similar here as well, right? So something comfortable that dries fast and they'll be comfortable wearing all day.
I know our daughter really likes just the legging style shorts.
Yep.
She just and like a t-shirt basically.
Yep, exactly. Something flowy.
We can't really put them in tank tops just because I'm always afraid they're going to burn. So we usually stick to the t-shirts.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. So again, if you're there during the winter months, check out the 14-day forecast in the days leading up to your trip. But it's definitely a good idea to pack long pants, sweaters, and jackets.
Absolutely.
Okay, so like we just said, it can get downright cold in Florida. So you don't want to be stuck buying sweaters and jackets in the parks or resorts when you're freezing because you'll pay more than you intended to when you could have just brought those with you from home, right? Other clothing related items you'll want to bring is a swimsuit, a hat that can be a baseball hat or something similar to protect your head from the sun, sunglasses. Okay, so this one's big. I don't usually wear sunglasses. I have them in the car, but I'm really bad for wearing them. Like I have to constantly remind myself to wear them.
Yeah.
But in the parks, it can get really bright when that Florida sun hits the concrete. It can be like, it's just hard on the eyes, right? So it's definitely a good idea to bring a pair of those along with you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
And kind of a side note on those, just be mindful, like a few things will set off the sensors at security, but your sunglasses case set off.
Yeah, and umbrellas.
Yes, umbrellas. Yeah. So if there's like a magnetic glasses case, that might set off the sensor.
They always just recommend you hold it in front of you so that the security guards can see what you're walking in with.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about shoes. We've talked about shoes on this podcast before, but it's definitely worth mentioning again. So a couple things here. If you have shoes that you really like and you know they are comfortable and reliable, we really think it's a good idea to bring 2 of those shoes.
Yep.
2 pairs of those shoes, just in case one gets completely drenched in a torrential downpour. It's happened.
Yep.
And you can cycle these in and out with your second pair. The park is not the place to test out new shoes. We promise you this is not the place. People walk on average between 10 and 30,000 steps in a day and are on their feet potentially from rope drop to fireworks, other than a few little spots when you sit down for a tiny little bit.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like 16 7-hour days. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So you really don't want to find out that your cute new shoes cause blisters on day 1 of your trip. I get wanting to wear the cute new shoes, but definitely break them in. Highly can't stress that one enough. The shoes you bring with you should be comfortable, tried, and tested. They should be broken in essentially, and it's good to take a long walk in them beforehand to make sure they'll hold up for you during several park days back to back.
Yeah, I really like the Ultra Boost DNAs. I own and I've owned several pairs, and they've never failed me.
I really like Skechers with memory foam. I actually have plantar fasciitis, so the memory foam for me is amazing. Skechers does a really good job with memory foam, but it's whatever works for you. And if you're going to opt for sandals, they should really be supportive, and same principles apply. They should be broken in, and you should be comfortable going in them all day. And for your kids, we highly recommend the same thing.
Yep.
There's a tendency to bring new shoes for kids, but you could run into the same problem. And we understand you want your kids to have nice and clean new shoes. We are the same. But what would you prefer? Cute shoes or kids whining and are unable to continue walking because their shoes are causing them so much pain all day long?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want that. For sure.
We actually buy our kids new shoes every time, but then we have them just wear them around the house just so they can actually stay clean, but they're actually getting broken in before we go on our trips.
Yeah, or like just outside if it's like
if it's
cleaner,
a really nice clean day.
Like because we get like you don't want to like don't go play in the mud with them, right? But it's definitely good for them to get a lot of reps wearing them, even taking them to the park or just something that they can use.
Absolutely. And another thing to consider is we know that some people make dining reservations at nicer signature restaurants and they like to dress up. We totally get that. And it's okay to bring a nicer pair of shoe or sandal for that nice evening. And if you're driving and you have the space, then it's actually really no brainer. Throw as many pairs of shoes as you want in there, really. Yep. But if you're flying, like we do every single time, we have to be much more selective with what we bring for footwear. And for our nice suppers out, we tend to usually just wear our sneakers. So your mileage may vary, and that's okay. That's whatever works for you and your family.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. So next up, travel documents. So this might seem obvious, but it should definitely land on your list, right? Somewhere. Okay. So this should be triple checked before you leave your house. So this includes like everything, right? So passports if you're coming from outside the U.S., driver's licenses or ID cards, wallet with credit cards and cash, U.S. cash, again, if you're coming from outside the U.S., gift cards if you're bringing any. It's also a good idea to bring printed versions of all your confirmations, right? So your ticket confirmation, your resort confirmation, and any other tickets like special events or shows. For your dining reservations, it's a good idea to take a screenshot of those and keep them saved in a folder in your photos on your phone, just in case something were to happen.
Yeah, we do this every time.
Yeah, 100%, because glitches have happened with the My Disney Experience app where reservations have gone missing. So it's good to have that just in case.
Absolutely.
We usually bring a binder with all of that information, and we have that trip folder for photos on my phone with screenshots of all our confirmed plans.
Yeah, we just like to be triple checking everything, make sure we have everything because you know what, when you get there, you don't want to have those kinds of worries.
Yeah, 100%. It's better to have it and not need it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. So when it comes to electronics and chargers, batteries, cables, any electronics that you might need, such as your camera, tablet, laptop, or magic bands. So for us, it seems as though with every subsequent trip, we're bringing more and more chargers than we ever have before. You got your phones, your Apple Watches, you got everything. So obviously you're going to want to bring the chargers that go with all your devices. So we're talking the phones, tablets, laptops, cameras, Nintendo Switch. Our son loves his Nintendo Switch, and whatever other electronic you might be bringing with you. Another thing you should definitely be bringing with you is portable chargers. We live off our portable chargers. There are several different brands and models to choose from. We're kind of partial to the brand Anchor. We bring 2 of these into the parks with us, and they are both able to charge our phones twice. We love these things. They're great, good quality, not very expensive, usually around $40 or so on Amazon. And we've had the same one for nearly 3 years. They have never failed us.
For those chargers, you'll also need USB to Lightning cables or USB to USB-C cables, depending on your device, to be able to charge essentially from the portable battery to your phone.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to be on your phone much more than you probably realize, booking lightning lanes, checking wait times, mobile orders. Some people use them for their tickets. So it's just really good to be able to recharge at least once during your day. And don't forget, the My Disney Experience app holds all of those reservations. So you don't want to have your phone die out on you at all because everything is on that app. The park offers fuel rods, and we believe it's about $30 or so for your first one. And then you can swap them out after that. This is definitely an option as well. But for the same price or just a little bit more, you can have your own. You can use it whenever you need it. It's just a better quality, I find, the other ones. And so we suggest bringing those with you. Every night when we're going to bed, we charge them up and they're ready to go for the next day. Another good thing to bring is a multi-charger. So this is essentially a plug with multiple USB ports that you can charge multiple devices. A really good use case for these is if you have Magic Band Plus. We have one of these that we bring with us when we have our kids with us, and this lets us charge all of our Magic Bands together on the same outlet. They don't draw much power at all, and you probably need to charge them every single day. So we usually have more devices than there are outlets offered to us in the resort rooms. So definitely consider this when you're packing. Be sure to be able to charge all your devices when you need to charge them during your trip. We have phones, tablets, Magic Bands, rechargeable batteries, recharging every single evening.
Yep.
It's sad, but that's the state of affairs. We have it all lined out.
Yep.
It's good to go. We kind of have a system every night. Okay, charger. Let's go to sleep.
Yep, exactly. And like we've actually bought a case that holds all of our chargers and batteries, and it's a convenient way to store everything. And a quick scan lets us know that we didn't forget anything. So it has essentially 2 layers with a bunch of pockets. We have everything in there, everything that charges.
Everything goes in there, yeah.
One thing though to be mindful if you do something like this, going through security, the bag gets pulled like 50% of the time, that specific bag, because I have to think like I've kind of seen what it looks like on the scanner, and it looks like a bundle of wires, right? Yeah. So obviously it would cause concern, and it does. So maybe a good idea is to pull that out and just put it separate right from your backpack or whatever you have, just so that to prevent that from happening.
Yeah,
essentially.
I agree completely.
Yeah. Next up is toiletries. So again, there's some subjectivity here. Different people have different needs, but a few things to keep in mind. So the Disney Resort rooms and most hotels for that matter have shampoo, conditioner in the room itself. Okay, so unless you have specific wants and needs, those things are going to be there, right? So Disney resorts also have body wash right there in the shower. Some people prefer to use their own stuff. Okay, so we get that. But if you're okay with what's in the resorts, then that can definitely save you some space in your luggage. Again, especially if you're flying. Some other things to consider is any hair care products like hair gel, a straightener, or similar things if you use them. The resorts do have hair dryers, so again, if you're okay using that one, you certainly don't need to bring one. Toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, perfume, cologne, eye contact solution if that applies to you. Right? So basically whatever you need to get yourself out of the door and into the world in the morning, you should be bringing with you. Okay. So other good things to bring along is sunscreen and aloe gel for any potential sunburns. It gets hot, and if you're outside in the sun all day, it's good to be prepared for that. You don't want to get a wicked sunburn on day one. Definitely a good way to put a damper on your trip very quickly, right?
Absolutely.
If you've ever had like a, like, you know what I mean, right? A really good sunburn on your shoulders or something.
The next day you're raw.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good to have those things on hand.
Absolutely. And actually on that same note, but more pharmacy related items, think about any medication you may need. Obviously anything prescription you need to take with you, but beyond that, just think of all those over-counter meds that you might need. So we're talking Tylenol, Advil, Gravel, that's a must in our family because our son gets motion sickness, yep. Or anything similar like allergy meds such as Reactin and Claritin if you're prone to that. Band-Aids, moleskin in specific cases are really good. If you have that blister on your foot, you know, in that heel area from your shoes, it's a great way to keep going despite that. Shaving sticks are good as well if you're prone to that. Hand sanitizer for obvious reasons. 100%. Wipes like Lysol wipes. And if you're flying and doing carry-on, you have to be mindful of the size of these containers. They have to be 100 mils or less. That's key for carry-on. Yeah,
100%. Another useful item that you should definitely be bringing with you is reusable water bottles. Mm-hmm. Okay, so water bottles in Walt Disney World are expensive, so it's a good idea to bring water bottles with you that you can refill throughout your day and your trip. We're partial to collapsible water bottles. We've used Dojo ones in the past, like that's a brand name. We just ordered new ones actually for our upcoming trip, and that brand is special made. Okay, we like the look of them. It seems as though they'll be good, but time will tell right away because we'll be putting them to the test next week.
We will be.
They fold down even smaller than our Stojo ones, which I'm really liking, and that seems promising. They have like all of these bottles kind of have like a weird like silicone kind of smell. Yeah. So they right on the manufacturer instructions, essentially, it said to put tea, like green or red tea, and just let it steep for a little bit just to get rid of that smell. And now it smells like tea. So
which it's better than a plastic smell. So I'll 100%. Take a tea smell.
Aside from that, though, there's a ton of brands and choices out there. So do your research, see if you can find something that suits your needs. Of course, you don't have to go the collapsible route. Just be mindful that multiple refillable water bottles do take up quite a bit of space. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can get free ice water from any of the quick service locations across the park. All you have to do is ask, okay? Disney is not going to deny you ice cold water. Mm-mm. They don't want you like having heat stroke. Yeah, exactly. In the parks.
Doesn't look very good.
No. Some locations also have water coolers as well, where you can grab cold water, like in front of Casey's Corner, Magic Kingdom.
Shout out to Casey's Corner.
Yeah, exactly. Backlot Express at Hollywood Studios has this as well. So Basically, any way you slice it, it's good to have a lot of options when it comes to hydration, especially when the parks are hot and sunny, okay? You don't want to get dehydration symptoms. Those can get nasty pretty quickly and can quickly put a damper on your trip. On a similar note, cooling devices. So we don't actually use these personally, but there's a ton of options out there and we've heard good things. Like some people swear by them.
Oh, we've seen many people using them in the parks.
Yeah, like one thing you'll see a lot of is those neck bands, as essentially it looks like a airplane pillow.
Headset too. Like
yeah, you're right. It does kind of look like headset, but it goes around your neck like an airplane pillow essentially, and it's just like exactly. Yeah, it's like fan. It blows cool air on your neck.
I've seen those a lot.
Yeah, you'll see cooling towels as well, which essentially you wet it, wring it out a little bit, and just put it over your neck and
you can find those in any gift shop too if you do need one.
Absolutely,
and
Disney
bring
sells
something.
those. Yeah, for
I've
sure.
seen those a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So some guests swear by these. So if that sounds like something you'd benefit from, then definitely consider that.
Absolutely. So another really good thing to think about is rain gear. There are a few options here as well, but one thing you can definitely bank on is that it's going to rain at some point during your trip. We can promise you that. It rains a lot in Orlando and during the summer months, almost every day in the afternoon. So we've said this before, but it's better to be prepared for the rain than to hope it doesn't come. So you can opt for a rain jacket here, obviously. You can also certainly fold those pretty small and pull them out whenever it's needed. Ponchos are actually a really good option as well. Bring these from home though, because they're available in the parks at like $12 per poncho.
Yep.
You don't need to be paying that when you can get them at your local dollar store.
Yeah, 100%. You can find similar quality, right, for much cheaper.
Absolutely. Yeah. Umbrellas are definitely a good option as well, especially if they're the ones that can fold really small and fit nicely in your park bag. We don't obviously recommend you bringing the really big ones in because that just gets in your way.
Big golf umbrella or something.
But yeah, if they fold nicely and fit in your park bag, great. Pack a few of those for sure. One thing to note is that umbrellas, like we said earlier, tend to set off the scanners due to the metal in them. We're not quite sure what it is. So before you enter the park, we actually suggest, and they have suggested to us as well, Disney, is that you hold it out in front of you as you're walking through, and then you probably won't get pulled aside that way because they can see what it is then.
Yep, 100%. Another quick note is if you plan to do laundry, the Disney resorts all have self-service laundry facilities where you can actually do a load of laundry if you want to do that. Now, obviously, if you're there for a week or less, you likely won't have to do laundry, but if needed or wanted, you could certainly do that. Soap and softener are available in vending machines at the resorts. Or, of course, you can bring your own from home as well if you choose to do that. If you're staying off-site, certain resorts offer similar services, and Airbnbs, they're basically houses or apartments, right? So usually they have like a full-blown washer dryer and you can do laundry as much as you want there.
Honestly, if we were staying, we usually only go for a week. If we were staying for 2, I probably would use the laundry services.
I think so,
because you can pack less and just recycle your clothes once they're washed.
Yeah, 100%. Nobody wants to do laundry on vacation, but it's better than...
When it comes to food, you can bring food with you as well. How much, again, depends on how you're traveling to Disney. You're limited in what you can bring on a flight just by the virtue of space alone. And if you're coming international, you're even more limited because there's many food items that you cannot take with you through customs. But you can bring protein bars, dry snacks, flavored water, chewing gum packets are all really good to have with you on your travel day and good to have with you on park days as well to bridge the gap between meals and actually to save some money. My husband's a big gum chewer, so we always like to have a couple of packs of gum.
And you can't find gum in Disney. They do not sell it because they don't want people like putting their gum on the ground and then having to like scrape gum off the ground and
or
stuff.
Under the table or whatever.
Like obviously I would never do that with my gum. I do bring gum, but I always find it garbage to put it in.
You are allowed to chew it at Disney, but they will not sell it to you there.
Don't sell it,
So if you don't want to bring food with you during your travel, there are grocery delivery services that deliver right to the resort. The merchandise locations at the resorts will also have the essential items such as bread, spreads, milk, coffee cream, similar items. We have used these before. They're great. They're a little bit more expensive than your typical grocery store, but it's convenient because it's right there.
Yep, agreed.
Or if you have a car, you can actually head to the nearest grocery store and pick all this stuff up yourself. Quick, easy, then you have the options in your room. If you're staying in a villa, you could have a kitchen or at the very least a kitchenette. And obviously Airbnbs will have full kitchens. Yep. We always fly, so we tend to travel light. So we don't usually bring food with us beyond what we might need with us on our actual travel day. And when we have the kids with us, like I said, we buy the coffee cream, toast, and peanut butter. And that's usually how we start our day in the morning. Our kids are good to go with a couple peanut butter toasts. And then that way we can get going.
We make a coffee in the
room. You and
room
I are good
with
to go with as long as we have coffee.
Yeah, the Joffrey's coffee that they have right in the room. We'll make
delicious.
a pot. We'll each have a coffee before we go. Quick toast, and then we head out for the day. And when it's just Lucy and I, we actually don't bother with this. We grab a coffee on the go and snack throughout the day. So this is definitely not a cost-efficient way to do it. But part of the park experience for us is food.
It really is. Like, we love the food there. We love snacking. So it's just part of the fun for us.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. There's definitely something to be said for the savings that, making or bringing food has, or offers rather. So do whatever works best for you and your family, like we always say.
Absolutely.
Other useful items to consider are reusable straws. So Disney has done away with plastic straws. So if you prefer a sturdier straw like silicone, for example, you can bring that with you and into the parks. I know you hate
I know
those,
they're so much better for the environment, but I hate paper straws.
When they disintegrate when you're drinking, it's not fun,
so
right?
Disappointing.
But you can always ask for another one. They'll bring you another one. Plastic bags, right? So the type you'd get at the grocery store or retail location or something similar, if they still are doing that. A lot of places have done away with these as well, right? But you can use those to store your shoes in your suitcase, separate dirty clothes from clean clothes during your trip. This is especially true if you're resort hopping or heading to Universal Resort, for example, right? And you're actually going to be moving. So you're going to be having dirty clothes with clean clothes.
Absolutely. Yeah. We actually went to our local dollar store and we purchased some laundry bags and they come in handy so much during our trip.
Yeah, that's right. We do. We have like cloth laundry bags that we use. Yeah, absolutely. Ziploc bags. So another really useful thing to bring with you. So these can be used again to store dirty clothes like wet socks or snacks you didn't finish and want to save for later. We use the medium-sized Ziploc bags as well to store our liquids when we're going through security. There's a ton of creative ways to use Ziploc bags. Okay, we always bring extras with us and they've been helpful in more ways than we can count.
Absolutely. There's always a handful of them in our park bag just because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. And then anything that you need that could help you sleep, right? Like a face mask, white noise machine, or similar items. So I was a shift worker for many, many years and I got used to sleeping with a fan initially and now with a white noise machine. It's small and it's easy to travel with and it helps me sleep. It's also pretty useful to block out some of the sounds of the resort, like anything that's going on outside the room, in the hallway, or adjacent rooms. And the kids sleep with face masks, which is kind of funny, right? Because
it was little divas while they're sleeping.
It was a stocking stuffer at Christmas and now they're stuck on them, right? They have to wear
obsessed.
them.
If they don't have them, I think it would actually be a not so great night.
Yeah, 100%. So the kids sleep with those.
So when it comes to the park bag, we're talking the bag that you're going to bring with you every single day. We intentionally ended with park bags for this episode, and there's two reasons for that. One, you have to pack your park bag and bring it with you. And two, we'll touch on some options we think are worth considering to bring with you and what should go into it during your park day. So with that being said, park bags come in all shapes and sizes, and really, it's not like it's an actual category of bag. It's just the bag you bring into the parks with you. Backpacks, purses, whatever. Now, depending on your season of life, what you'll need to bring into the parks is going to differ. If you have young kids that are still in diapers, for example, you're likely going to need bigger park bags to get everything you need. You're also more likely to need a stroller, which can be used as storage as well, which is actually really great. You can bring a mummy hook or something similar, which is essentially a large carabiner to hang bags off of the stroller, which is actually a great way to free up space.
Yep, agreed 100%. And if you're an adult couple, friends, or solo, you'll probably need a small bag with few things in it, right? You can travel a lot lighter, essentially.
Absolutely.
What you personally need in the park will determine what size of bag you should bring in with you. If you're bringing in a full-size backpack, for example, that can double as your personal item on your flight. So if you're flying, you can pack it before your park day with what you need. Of course, you could also lay it empty and as flat as you can to get it into your suitcase as well. In terms of backpacks, this is taster's choice, okay? But what I'll caution you is if you have a big, bulky backpack that is made of canvas, for example, and is laying flat on your back during a 100-degree weather day, your back is going to be drenched literally all day long, right? So a breathable pack with a layer in between your back and the pack itself is ideal. So these are almost always more expensive, but 100% worth it in my opinion. So brands like Osprey, for example, make solid day packs and they have a layer of mesh essentially that's actually separated. There's like a space between that mesh and the back of the pack so it doesn't actually touch you, which lets it breathe and is just a little bit more comfortable, especially if you're wearing it during really, really hot days. If you don't need a big backpack, you can get away with something significantly smaller, okay? And you've got a ton of options here. Crossbody bags, fanny packs, lounge fly backpacks are ultra popular among park guests. These are smaller, but depending on your needs, it can be more than enough. Our kids are a little older now, so whether we have the kids or not, we bring the same bags. Lucy will usually bring a lounge fly, but has also brought a fanny pack, like a Lululemon crossbody bag, and brought those into the parks, which are super useful. And I'll usually, and when I say usually, I mean always, it's always the same one. I wear a crossbody bag that's about the same size as the Loungefly, only a little bit longer. I really like the brand Herschel, and the specific bag I use is the 8-liter shoulder bag. We can fit quite a lot in these bags, so we'll go over what we bring with us during a typical park day.
Absolutely.
So in no particular order, this is what we suggest bringing into the park. So number one, we mentioned it earlier, but you need some kind of rain gear. Okay, so whether that's a poncho, a rain jacket, or an umbrella, like we said, it's almost certainly going to rain at some point during your park day. Okay, so it's good to be prepared for that. We usually bring ponchos, fold them nice and small, and they go right in the bottom of our bags. We'll usually split it between our 2 park bags because they do get a little bit bulky if they're all together.
They do.
But yeah, we've definitely found that's the best option that works for us.
Absolutely. Number 2 is your water bottle. This is a must for reasons that we outlined earlier. Another thing that we're going to add on this as well is that we usually fill these up the night before and we put them in our mini fridge in our room because most rooms have those. Yep. And then we grab them and take them with us first thing in the morning. Hydration first thing and keeping up the trend all day long is key. And we as a family tend to prefer cold water. So starting out with the cold water is really nice, actually. So that's like a really good tip. Yeah. Yep. The 14-day forecast is looking hot, and I mean hot, for our trip next week. So we're going to be drinking lots of water, that's for sure. And we definitely suggest that you do the same. Have a solid plan to stay hydrated all day long.
Agreed 100%.
A little ice cream helps too.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt, but it does make you more thirsty,
it
which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
You're going to drink more water. So next up, and probably pretty obvious, hand sanitizer. You touch a lot of surfaces and high touch points. Your kids will likely touch even more despite your best efforts, right? The chains, like in the queues and everything, and then they touch their face. It's just, it is what it is. You got to make your peace with it.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a couple of these ready to go anytime you're going to touch your face, drink, or eat. Okay. So it's not always convenient to find a restroom to fully wash your hands properly. So having those on hand can really be a lifesaver. We never go to the parks without at least a couple bottles. Yeah.
Never. That is a must.
Yep.
At number 4, sunscreen, also a must. We are just pale skinned. I am especially. My daughter's the same way. We will burn like lobsters right away. So the vast majority of the year, it ranges from hot to really hot in Florida. And that sun can be punishing. Especially if you're not used to it, like we are not used to that kind of sun, and you're coming from somewhere with cooler climates. So apply it first thing in the morning before you leave your room and keep applying it throughout the day. We try and do that every few hours, I think. Hey, usually when we take a little rest, we'll apply some more sunscreen.
Yeah, 100%. And like we said before, if you've ever sported a wicked sunburn and went back in the following day, you know how miserable that can be. So the best defense is preparation, and sunscreen is the answer.
Absolutely.
Next up, sanitary wipes. Okay, so brand doesn't really matter here, but we find these useful for many purposes, and I'll give you a couple examples. Okay, so let's just say you grabbed your food at a quick service location. It's busy and there's no available tables, but a nice family who is just finishing sees you waiting, quickly packs up and heads out and leaves you their table. First off, thank you, right? So enjoy the rest of your park day. But 2, you'll probably want to give that table a quick wipe down, right? So especially if you have littles or if it's messy, you can use these wipes to clean the table quickly and dry with a napkin, and voila, fresh table. Another use case for these is, let's say you went into a washroom, and for the most part, cast members are really good at keeping them clean. Okay, so I don't want you to get the wrong impression, but it happens where maybe that's not the case, right? So you can use these to give that washroom a quick wipe down, which is definitely super convenient in some instances.
Absolutely. Love the wipes. They are so good. You can get those kind of travel packs or whatever. They fit nicely in the bag. They're a must for sure.
Agreed.
Number 6 is meds. And that's over the counters and prescriptions, anything that you may need. We usually like to take with us Tylenol or Advil or something similar. And if we have the kids, we usually take our Gravel as well. Like I said earlier, our son does get motion sickness at times. So we have it on hand just in case, because we don't want motion sickness to ruin his days, because he actually loves the rides.
Yep,
so as long as he has his Gravel, he's good to go. And on that same note, Band-Aids and moleskins, just in case you start to develop rubbing at the ankles or something very similar. Better to protect that early than nurse it all day and only apply it for the next day.
Yeah, 100%. At that point, it's too late already. You know what we're talking about.
Band-Aids are key.
Yep. And number 7, external battery packs and cables, right? So like we said earlier, this is super important. We're on our phones pretty much all day, right? So booking lightning lanes, refreshing our screens constantly for better lightning lanes, mobile ordering, wait times. It also doubles as our camera, right? So I'm taking photos, videos constantly. It chews through batteries like you wouldn't believe. We take 2 external batteries that we mentioned before with small 6-inch cables that we plug into the battery and into our phones. We lay them flat together and charge on the fly. Okay, so these are lifesavers, and I definitely recommend you bring at least one into the park with you. Again, we definitely wouldn't leave our room without these. They're a must.
We'd have to go back, I think.
Yeah.
at some point to get them. Next up is Ziplocs. These are so useful and they have many use cases. The best is to store snacks and foods that you didn't finish or are saving for later. There's been many times where we buy a gigantic cookie and we'll take a few bites and it's so good, but okay, yeah, we can't eat all that right now.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, if it's hot in the parks, you're not going to want to store chocolate or something like that, but a dry good will be fine for sure. And you can also use these for soiled clothes like wet socks or something very similar. Any toys or knickknacks that your kids guilted you into buying, because let's get real, they're going to do that. Yep. FYI, we don't endorse the bubble wands at all. Our kids have wanted them in the past. We have never purchased them because pretty much they are a leaky, sticky mess.
Yep, 100%.
We've seen it many times on like the blogs and stuff. We just say avoid them at all costs.
Yeah, 100%. And we've bought some here at home, right? Like with no pressure. And yeah, it always ends up being a mess.
Always.
Number 9, another layer, right? So this is especially true if you're there in early spring or late fall or into the winter months. So like we said before, it can get chilly in the parks, even more so in the early morning and evening. So packing a sweater that you can fold into the bottom of your park bag until you need it is definitely a good idea. Your rain gear can serve this purpose as well, right? So dual purpose. You can bring a rain jacket, which could also keep you warm when it's a little colder.
Absolutely. Our daughter tends to get chillier in the air conditioning, so it's kind of nice to always have a sweater on.
Yeah, she has like a little... It's not
zip up.
Yeah, it's like a little dry wicking sweater essentially. But yeah, she'll constantly, like we're sitting in the restaurant and
I'm cold.
Exactly. She doesn't want to eat because she's cold, right? So the sweater comes out and then she's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And at number 10, sunglasses. It gets sunny and bright. Not much more to say for that. Just sunglasses are really good. We like them.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We definitely suggest packing those. Mm-hmm. So that's our list of must-bring items we take with us into the park every day, no matter what. Okay, so you may take some of the same items or more items or less items, right? So that's completely subjective. Do what works for you. Other items to consider are snacks, gum, right? Like we said, you're not going to find that in the parks. Water flavor packets. The water in Florida or in the Orlando area does taste a little funny.
It's a little different, yeah.
And it's not always super cold if you're going to the water refill stations, right? True. So if that's going to bother you, those flavored water packets can be lifesavers. Cooling systems, right? Like fans or towels. Again, if you've got really little ones, you'd likely need a diaper bag with all the fixins, right? So again, what we find is typically that there's 2 types of park packers. People who want to bring as much as possible for every possible eventuality, and people who want to travel as light as possible. So wherever you land is totally okay. Do what works for you.
Absolutely. So with all that being said, what you plan to bring for a suitcase and even a park bag will depend on if you're driving or flying. And if you're flying, are you checking your luggage or are you doing carry-on? So like we said, if you're driving, you can definitely bring a big suitcase. You don't have to be as mindful of what you're going to bring with you on your trip. If you're flying and you're checking a large suitcase, again, you can bring pretty much as you want. Essentially, you have more room and you'll have extra room for souvenirs.
Yep, 100%. It's less worrying, right?
Absolutely.
You don't have to be so mindful of all the space, right? And on that note, if you're flying, you can also carry on. So there's pros and cons to this. Traveling light is great, but you have to really be mindful of how you pack, and you don't have much room to bring anything back with you, right? So that's the con. We'll let you in on a little secret, okay? We have to fly down. It's by far the easiest way for us. We would lose major vacation time if we drove down every time. And we always carry on. We never check luggage nowadays. All of our containers are under 100 mils. We always bring back any toiletries and similar items that we have left and bring it back on subsequent trips so nothing goes to waste. I can't even begin to explain how convenient it is to just get off the plane. You already have everything you need with you. You hail an Uber and off you go. We do this with our kids now as well. We pack booster seats. They fit in our backpacks and we try to be as mobile as possible. We realize that's not feasible for everyone, especially if you have younger kids. But if you have the flexibility to travel light, we found that's by far the most convenient way. There's something to be said to bring more, and at the end of the day, how you pack and what you bring is very subjective, so do what works best for you and your family.
With that said, thank you so much for joining us today to talk packing and park bag tips. If you haven't already, find us on Instagram and TikTok at letsgo.to-disney, and our Facebook page is Let's Go to Disney.
Yep, 100%. And we would also love it if you could subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It would be greatly appreciated. And like we've said before, it helps us reach more listeners. And that's why we started the podcast, right? To help people have great Disney vacations.
Have a great day, and we'll see you real soon.